With their second fourth-round pick of the 2018 draft, the Baltimore Ravens selected Kenny Young, inside linebacker out of UCLA. Now today we're going to look at where he projects to fit in their scheme and what kind of value they got with this fourth-round pick. Standing at 6'1" and 236 pounds with 32 3/8-inch arms, Kenny Young ran a 4.6 40 and his vertical was 36 inches. All of these measurables indicate that his athleticism should translate to success at the NFL level. And he's going to project to fit at the will linebacker or weak inside linebacker, sitting next to CJ Mosley. Kenny Young play, the very first thing that stands out to you is his sideline to sideline speed. When plays flow the outside and he's got a clear line of sight on what's happening, he's very fast in pursuit and has great closing speed and makes nice tackles. Another thing he's really good at is coverage, whether it's zone coverage or man coverage. Zone coverage, you can really tell he understands zone concepts, and he's good at carrying receivers through his zone and passing them on to safeties and corners. In man coverage, he's got the athleticism, the hips to stick with a lot of running backs and tight ends. The last thing he's really good at is his gap responsibility and just maintaining his overall assignment on the play. Now, he's not going to make any game-changing plays necessarily that are off script, because he's very strict in sticking to his responsibilities. But the good thing about that is he sticks to that and doesn't blow too many plays doing any kind of freelance instinctual work. Some things that he's not so good at with his game, first of all, the point of attack is not the strongest. When plays kind of run inside and offensive linemen or even just tight ends and receivers at times get their hands on him, they can actually blow him out of the running lane entirely. And he's not very great at stack and shedding them. And it leads to some big runs just getting blown out of the running lane. Another thing is his instincts are good when a play's simple and flowing the outside, but when things get a little more complicated, he's not really sure what's happening. He's slow to diagnose plays, and what it kind of ends up doing is makes him a step late and makes him kind of miss the play entirely. Lastly, his tackling. He's a sure tackler, mostly on the outside and in space, but when it comes to up the middle and stopping running backs at the line of scrimmage, he's not very good at that. He's not a thumper, which is why he's projected at will inside linebacker. He's going to need space, and he can make the plays in space, and he's going to need to be kept clean. But then he can kind of come in there and clean up the play after the fact. So now we're going to go to some video to show you what I'm talking about with some of these pros and some of these cons. We're going to look at 3 games from Kenny Young's 2017 season: Stanford, Colorado, and Arizona State. In this opening play, you see Stanford lined up in the shotgun with Bryce Love to the left of the quarterback. Usually in this formation, if it's a run play, the running back's going to flow across the face of the quarterback to the right side, and it'll usually be an outside run, whether it's a stretch play or a power play. Off the snap, you can see it is a run play. And additionally, you see the guard and the tackle pull, yet Kenny is still standing flat-footed yet to react. As the play develops, you'll see that an offensive lineman is able to get inside leverage on him because he's a little slow to react. And in doing so, the play has become dangerous for pulling outside and being a long gain. Because as Bryce Love cuts up, he's going to want to run that outside. And the offensive linemen want to keep Kenny inside as he has inside leverage. Now, the one thing Kenny does to make up for his slow response is he's able to cross the face of the offensive lineman to get to the outside. Now, this is really smart because if he allows Bryce Young to run up that outside alley, that could either be a touchdown or a significantly longer gain. But instead of allowing that, he is able to cross the face of the offensive lineman despite being late and he ends up forcing Bryce Love back inside to the flow of play where the safety and the following up defensive lineman can make the tackle. Now this next play, the Stanford is yet again lined up in shotgun with Bryce Love now to the right of the quarterback. So if this is a run play, yet again it's going to flow to the left side. And off the snap of the ball, you see it is indeed a run play. It could potentially go outside. Now, the one thing Kenny does here is he starts immediately flowing to the outside. But if you notice, his defensive lineman is responsible for setting the edge and has set the edge. And instead, Kenny keeps flowing strong to this outside. And what ends up happening is it creates a running lane right up the middle of the field where he should be because his lineman is setting the edge. And so he over pursues and gets out of position. But he should still be able to recover because he's just got a receiver blocking him. What ends up happening is the receiver blocks him completely out of the run lane and allows Bryce Love to cut outside and up. And Kenny does not have the speed to recover. And so here's a good example when we talk about his strength at the point of attack not being adequate enough, because if a receiver can block him and knock him off the line, the NFL, or at the college level, the NFL, the offensive lineman or tight end, he's going to just continue to struggle. This next play will show a similar thing. So we're lined up in goal line. Kenny's in the middle here. And right off the snap, one lineman releases to the second level. But he's on his knees and can't really block Kenny. Meanwhile, this isn't Bryce Love, the running back has gotten the ball at the 5-yard line when Kenny Young is at the goal line with an offensive lineman at his knees. As the play develops, Kenny, instead of getting over this block and fighting through it, just kind of stands there and allows the running back to just dive from 3 or 4 yards out straight into the end zone. Does nothing to prevent this. So this is a good example of his unwillingness at the point of attack to hop in and make a thumping stop and stop the running back for no gain. In this next play, you get to see a little bit of his coverage ability and his zone understanding. Of this snap, Stanford sends a receiver up the seam, and Kenny's playing zone. He notices the receiver streaking up and another receiver breaking down a cut. Whether that's going to be an inside cut or an outside cut, he's got eyes on it and understands that if he cuts in and the receiver carries up, he needs to pass him along to the safety and take away this inside route. And in the play, you see that's exactly what he does. As the cut comes inside, he knows the safety's directly behind him to take on number 9, and he takes away the easy inside pass. Forces the ball upfield in a harder completion, and it results in an incompletion. This next play is a demonstration of another concern over his lack of power. It's just a run up the middle with Bryce Love, and Bryce Love's a speedy back for sure. Not necessarily a huge power back. As you see in this play, he's coming up the middle and has to side cut a defender. Kenny Young has just a straight shot on him, square hips, runs in full force to make the tackle. Bryce Love is off base, doesn't have his feet under him. They make contact, and despite making contact, Bryce does not get tackled or knocked back. He's able to regain his feet and power through and actually push through for 2-3 more yards. And if this is a 3rd and 1 or a 4th down and Kenny Young's there, has his hips under him in full motion and can't make that tackle, that's a big concern. We have another play here that demonstrates his coverage ability and then another concern over his tackling strength. In this position, he's lined up in the A gap with another inside linebacker. Here you'll notice that the Ravens actually run this play quite a bit, so they'll be asking him to do this, where they'll put the middle linebacker over both of them over the A gap, and either they blitz or they drop back in coverage. And here he'll drop back in coverage, and he's really good at turning his hips and getting upfield and getting proper depth and identifying what the coverage is from his standpoint and what the route combination is. And here he immediately identifies the play in dropping back, and even though his hips were turned towards the quarterback off the snap and the receiver was facing upfield, he's able to turn his hips and get upfield and get to the spot where the receiver was pretty much at the same time, which is impressive. It's a very good play to get there and be able to get to the receiver in time. Now, here's where the problem, where his play is incomplete. And in doing all this good effort, identifying the play, getting back there, the receiver catches the ball about a yard shy of the first down, and this is a 4th and 6. Now, he has the receiver completely wrapped up a yard shy, yet he can't finish the tackle. What ends up happening is the receiver powers through his tackle and another and gets another 5 yards out of the play when Kenny Young had him completely wrapped up. And this is just a receiver, not a running back. So you have yet again another question over his tackling strength and ability to make plays at crucial downs. We got 2 more plays to go through to show his point of attack and tackling concerns. On this play here, lined up in shotgun, Stanford runs right up the middle, and the center comes right at Kenny. So immediately I think he's going to get blown off the ball yet again, and it'll be up the middle. However, he's actually able to stick and shed the safety or the center entirely, which is a really nice play. And he's sitting here now in great position to make a stop. As Love cuts up, one defensive lineman gets on him, and Kenny's sitting there squared up entirely to make this tackle and stop him, I guess, at least for the first down. What ends up happening is Bryce Love squeezes through that. I don't know really what Kenny's doing. He doesn't step up to make the tackle at all. Just allows him to slip right through and just go right up the middle for a touchdown. And in that case, if you're Kenny, you need to make that stop there. And I'm not really sure what happened, but it's just one of those consistency issues he has. And this last play we're going to go through for this game, and another point of attack concern and him being blown out of the line. So right off the snap, Stanford double teams and releases an offensive lineman onto Kenny, gets his hands on him. Kenny's still in the running lane at this point, is in good position to at least hold Bryce away from this lane and this linebacker flow. As the play unfolds, though, the lineman just blows him out of the lane entirely. And Kenny cannot hold that position. Granted, his 2 teammates over here should have made that tackle, but still you can see just the lineman just blowing him out of that line and creating that lane for the running back, not Bryce Love, but yet again, just another play where he needs to be able to fill those run lanes. And he can make a play in space and tackle on people, but when it comes to anchoring down and making a strong tackle, he needs to get better at that at the next level if he wants to start next to CJ next year. For this next play or game, I'm going to just show you 2 plays back to back that kind of demonstrate really well what you kind of see when you watch Kenny on film thus far in college. And this first play is a positive. You've got Colorado running a sweep outside. Kenny sees it, diagnoses it, has excellent pursuit speed, closing speed, makes a nice tackle. So this is the kind of stuff that jumps off the film when you first watch him, and you notice he really excels at. The next play coming up, though, is going to show a little bit more about when we speak to his consistency as a problem. Right at the snap, he's in coverage. You can tell it's a play that breaks down. The quarterback starts scrambling. So it's a little off script. However, Kenny notices this right off the bat. Doing so, starts to pursue the play, completely sees the quarterback, knows he's scrambling, and starts pursuing him. However, he takes just such a poor angle at the quarterback. He, instead of flattening out and getting over, he runs right at him, realizes when it's way too late that he's not going to make it to him. And then on top of it, looks like he actually could be pretty close to making a play, and just almost seems like he pulls up and just gives up on the play. Allows the quarterback to gain an extra 10 yards and get the first down. And it just kind of, you see such a good play to start, good pursuit and a solid tackle, a good angle taken. Then you see this next play where he could have done the same and he just does it, and you wonder what was happening there. But you know, in the NFL, if you want to start, you have to be consistent on these plays. So this last game I'm going to show against Arizona State, it's for a few reasons. One, it's later in the season, so you can kind of see that as the season develops and he gets a chance to watch his tape and kind of improve his technique and build some strength, you see that in this game in particular, he gets better against the run and with stacking and shedding. And I realize that Arizona State does not have the power run game that Stanford has. At the same time, these are still some bigger bodies in this game that get onto him, and he's able to hold his position and uses one arm longer than two to shed the block and make the play. So in this very first play, the guard releases. He's able to meet him at the line, hold his position, shed, run over, and help make the tackle. It's a good play. In this next play here, again, another guard releases. He's able to meet him at the line, hold his position, throw the lineman off of him, turn his hips, help pursue the ball carrier to the sideline, and help make the play. This play, same thing. What you'll see is this fullback comes up to the line here and meets him straight at the line, and he hits him and even knocks him back a whole yard. A nice explosive hit, sheds him, and is able to come over and help make the tackle. Significant improvement from earlier in the season. And then this last play, again, a guard meets him at the line, and he's able to hold his position entirely. He keeps the integrity of the run lane, moves the lineman over with one arm, and stands directly in the running lane where the running back's coming through to be able to hold his position and make a nice tackle for a little gain. Now, a lot of these things being projected as Will linebacker, he might not be asked to do with Baltimore, especially since Baltimore has some big bodies up front to help keep him clean. However, it is nice to see that he has taken the time to develop, learn some technique, and be able to help out in the run game in this manner and build some strength. And it shows that he is willing to learn and coach and develop and to help improve and build on his consistency. Now, to wrap everything up, hopefully you kind of have an understanding now of what Kenny Young is and what he isn't at this point in his career. He's, again, a very strong sideline-to-sideline mover, and he's very fast, fluid with his hips, athletic, and he has definitely shown improvement through his last season in taking on some power blocks and being able to stack and shed and make plays. His consistency in his tackling and strength at this point in time do not appear like they are entirely ready to be a true NFL starter at this point. But It does not mean that he will not improve and get there. At this point, it looks like he's going to be able to contribute to special teams right away. And we all know John Harbaugh likes to pick special teams higher than some people would like to see it be chosen, but to defend him slightly, special teams is very important to the game, whether you like it or not, especially in close games or even just defensive struggles. And we all know the Ravens like to play the most watchable games in the NFL. So the special teams will be a very important contribution early for Kenny, given his ability to run, his athleticism, and then his understanding of his role and being able to keep his lane integrities and responsibilities and cover punts and kicks. Going forward, whether he sifts next to CJ Mosley or not is yet to be seen. He clearly has all the ability in the world to do so. It'll be more of a question of whether or not he, sits in the film room and learns and works more on his technique than strength, and just works on his consistency, play in and play out. If he can stay consistent, he can be a really solid starter. Now, he can already probably be a pretty strong backup, given that he's not a liability athletically, and he's good at staying with his responsibility in lanes and not trying to freelance and end up blowing huge run lanes in a play. But to be a strong contributing starter, he's just going to have to be more consistent. But he shows he can absolutely get there, so we'll see where that goes. In terms of the pick being an inside linebacker in the 4th round, when just 2 years ago the Ravens drafted Kamali Correa to fill that role, and then even last year Patrick Wosu busts on the scene, and I really like Patrick Wosu in that position. It is curious that the Ravens would go as high as the 4th round for a linebacker, other than knowing that they do need help on special teams as well. But the Ravens needed, a lot of people thought, a wide receiver and other positions of need. And we ended up drafting Jaleel Scott and Jordan Lasley. And I really like Jordan Lasley. I don't know a whole lot about Jaleel Scott, but there were other receivers on the board at the time we took Kenny that I wouldn't have minded seeing us taken, rather. Jamon Moore from Missouri would have been an example. The Green Bay Packers took him. But, the Ravens have a plan, and they're really good at developing linebackers. And he obviously has all the tools to develop. So it's just a matter of how hard is he willing to work and get in the locker room and film room and weight room and improve all those things. All in all, it's good value at the 4th round, what you're going to get out of him from a linebacker position. It just is up to you to determine whether you would have preferred to see a different position of need taken. But all in all, he's a strong player, and it's a good position. Good value pick.